네, 이번 세션은 디지털 세상이 꿈꾸는 함께하는 미래를 음악으로 제시하는 세션입니다. 오늘 오전에 개막식 때 잠깐 보신 분들도 계실 텐데요. 전 세계 58개국 2천여 명을 연결해서 천상의 화음을 만들어내는 버추얼 콰이어의 작곡자이자 지휘자 에릭 휘테거 씨를 소개하겠습니다.
Thank you again. So what I'd like to do this afternoon is tell you just a little bit more about the virtual choir. I began telling you about it this morning, how it came to be, and where we're headed with it. Before I tell you that, though, I should mention that I didn't begin my life as a classical musician. I wanted to be a rock star in high school. And I joined the choir in college to meet girls, and that was a good idea. There were a lot of girls in choir. But we began our first rehearsal singing the Requiem by Mozart, and my life was changed. In one 50-minute rehearsal, I was completely transformed, and I fell in love with choir. I'm not sure what it was. I think that the singing, the sound of the voices, everyone breathing together, the shared intention. But what I do know is that I left that day and since feeling that I belonged to something larger than myself. That's how I feel every time I'm with a choir or with a group of classical musicians. Well, 2 years ago, a friend of mine sent me an email and said, "You've got to see this video." And he sent me a link to this video posted by a young fan.
Hi, Mr. Eric Whitacre. My name is Bretland Lucy, and this is a video that I'd like to make for you. Here's me singing Sleep. I'm a little nervous, just to let you know. If
And I thought this was unbelievable. My idea was that if I could just get 50 people or 20 people or 100 people from all over the world singing like Britland was, all at the same speed, they could all upload their parts to YouTube, and somehow I could cut them together and make this virtual choir. I thought this might work. So I went into my room and I made a conductor's track that looked like this. This is what the singers all sang to. And the first videos, as they started coming in, looked like this. This is Cheryl Ang. She's from Singapore. This is Evangelina Etienne from Boston. This is the girl that I mentioned this morning who is suffering with stage 4 cancer right now and who we're all sending all of our prayers and thoughts to. This is Stephen Hansen. He's a tenor from Sweden. And this is Jamal Walker, a bass from Texas. Jamal has a beautiful voice. There's even a little soprano solo in the piece, and so we auditioned for soprano solos. I learned later that not only the soprano soloists, but the singers themselves sometimes recorded their tracks 40, 50, 60 times before they had just the perfect take and uploaded it. Here's Melody Myers. She's the winner of our soprano solo competition. She's so sweet, isn't she? And it's just no problem for her to sing those high notes. So we cut all of that together. A young man named Scott Haynes came from the crowd and said, "I'd like to be the person to edit this all together." I was so grateful to find Scott. And we posted it to YouTube, and as I mentioned this morning, it went instantly viral. It's had nearly 3 million views so far. Let me play you just the first part now of Luxorumque, so you can see how it all adds up. Good. So what we did for Virtual Choir 2.0, this is our most recent project. we put the call out around the world, and we made a Google mapping system so that when you uploaded your video, you put in your GPS coordinates, and every one of those yellow dots represents a person who participated. You can see there in Africa, Europe, Russia, 3 from Korea, I should say, Madagascar, Malaysia, Vietnam, Israel, Jordan, as far north as Alaska and as far south as New Zealand. And in all, we ended up with 2,052 singers from 58 different countries. What I'd like to do now is show you, let's see if this comes up. There's all of the singers from Virtual Choir 2.0. And what I'd love to do now for you is just play the first couple minutes of Sleep, which is Virtual Choir 2.0. Oh, before I do that, there was a Facebook page that we put for all of the singers to post their testimonies, what it was like for them and what they experienced singing as part of it. And I chose just a couple of my favorites. Here's one. My sister and I used to sing in choirs together constantly. Now she's an airman in the Air Force, constantly traveling. It's so wonderful to sing together again. I love that her impression is that she's singing with her sister, even though they're thousands of miles apart. Aside from the beautiful music, it is great just to know I'm part of a worldwide community of people I never met before, but who are connected anyway. And this is my personal favorite. When I told my husband that I was going to be part of this, he told me I did not have the voice for it. It hurt so much, and I shed some tears, but something inside of me wanted to do this despite his words. It is a dream come true to be a part of this choir, as I've never been a part of one. When I placed a marker on the Google Earth map, I had to go with the nearest city, which is about 400 miles away from where I live. As I am in the great Alaskan bush, satellite is my only connection to the world. 2 things became very clear to me as I was doing this crazy project. One is that people will go to any lengths necessary to connect with each other. I imagine it as electronic messages in bottles, people on islands sending them out, just trying to find people to connect with. And the second thing is, as I mentioned this morning, these people aren't experiencing a virtual choir. It doesn't feel virtual at all to them. It's a very real experience. Not only have some of the virtual choir members formed little communities and cliques online, but they've been supportive to each other. They've helped each other in times of need. For instance, Vanji, who has cancer. Some of them have started dating online. We're hoping even to soon have a virtual baby happening. What I'd like to do now for you is play just a couple minutes of Virtual Choir 2.0. This is Sleep. Good, and I'll end it there in the interest of time. Thank you. Thank you. For Virtual Choir 3.0, I'm able to announce to you today this, you're the very first people that I've said this to publicly. Our goal is to align it with the Olympics in London in 2012. Our hope is to have 10,000 singers and 2,000 to 3,000 ballet dancers. We're going to add choreography this time. The image that I have in my mind, if we can pull it off, is an outside installation in the shape of an eye, a giant eye that you'll be able to see from miles across London, each of them an individual screen. We're hoping, of course, to partner with someone like Samsung, if they happen to be in the audience. And that the images will be coordinated so that, for instance, if the ballet dancers are born in the month of January, we'll tell all of them that all of their motions will have to go to 1 o'clock, for instance. And if you're born in July, then all of them go to 6 o'clock. And then once they're all lined up in this circle, we'll be able to create these motions, these beautiful, elusive, ephemeral pictures out of thousands of people participating for no reason other than to make something beautiful. The strangest thing has happened to me since I started with the virtual choir, and that is that in all of the press interviews that I've done, I've become this defender of the internet. I didn't mean to. I've always been a fan of the internet, but people are constantly asking me, well, but the internet can be used for a purpose of evil, and the internet can be a way to dehumanize and to isolate people. Don't you agree with this? And my experience has been the complete opposite. The virtual choir is the perfect example of that, that in fact, it's only about bringing people together. I think things like what we're seeing in the Middle East right now are a great example of what can happen when those things are unfiltered. But even on a more aesthetic level, there's a sense for me that the internet, well, you know, it's funny. I imagine that when the phone was first invented, there were probably people who thought the phone was inhuman and isolating, and would be a force of evil, and that people would never speak to each other in person again. That hasn't been the case at all. I'm sure all of you are wired just like me. My web designer lives in South Africa. I've never met him in person. My manager lives in London. I live in Los Angeles. We meet every couple of months. I have many, many real relationships with people from all over the world. And I'm grateful for those relationships. Those relationships enrich my life, make me connected, and I think make for a more compassionate world, which really is the whole point of all of us connecting. Thank you so much.
감사합니다.